My dear friends, today I'm presenting to you my special feelings on the occasion of the anniversary of the passing away of my dear and respected father. Some of you have known him intimately, and you have seen him working all his life, pursuing a noble profession of the treatment of people. I'm in my home in Greater Noida called Gautam Buddha Nagar. On my left, you have a very typical photograph of my father. It was taken sometime in 1956. It captures his entire life. He was always reading, writing, and doing his professional duties. You have my autobiography on this left side of the picture, and you have few books in front of me which have been authored by me. I have chosen a method to pay my tribute to my father by addressing him directly. So I may start my first introductory reading, and then the two tributes to him, one which was published in English, and the second is the last chapter of my autobiography, which has been published recently. So I may start, my friends, my tribute, my direct intimate dialogue with my respected father. My most esteemed father, today is the 44th anniversary of the completion of the journey of your life. After arrival in this world, departure is a natural consequence, an inevitable reality. वास्तविकता जो अटल है, in the realms of both the many splendid spirituality and the ever exploring physical sciences. I and the family of your firstborn remember you today most sincerely for your unfathomable love of learning and virtues of character. I am deeply conscious of how you were ever keen on my excellence in education, and I feel immensely proud that by the grace of God, I have left no stone unturned in my indefatigable pursuit of an all round knowledge. Today, dear Father, I present to you my Atam Katha, the autobiography, as my most loving tribute to you. I have attempted to chronicle this saga of our family with utmost humility and the legitimate pride and satisfaction over the continuation of the tradition of kindness and the positive values of the family. Knowing your strongest desire that I should be the most proficient in English, above all the spoken English, I have decided to communicate with you in English. I shall read out my tribute to you carried by an American website, India of the Past. This tribute was later on included in the book India Before Independence. You will be mighty glad to know about my book in English titled Expressions of Freedom. Its title page was designed by your firstborn grandson, whose arrival was your last grand celebration on the family festival of Lori, the 13th January 1975, with your pious friend from the line of Guru Nanak, Tikka Kuldeep Singh Ji Bedi, who was in attendance at the Akhand Path at our home. It was also an auspicious occasion to be participated by my father-in-law, Shri Nandlal Ji Ramdasiya. You were known to speak a lot, but a quietude had, however, soon developed between us. You knew it well that my word will be altogether different. I took the path that you would silently admire. You had a dream about me. It was realized in ample measure, but life is more complex and challenging. Everyone's journey is unique, with no past or future. So has been yours, and so will be mine too. I had put an in memoriam in the Punjabi Tribune with your photo on your 101st birthday. Today I solemnly promise to present to you the English version of my Meri Jeevan Yatra on your next birthday. And here is your Jeshth Sputra, the firstborn son's tribute to you, first in English and then as the conclusive chapter of Meri Jeevan Yatra. Well, this tribute to my father is titled My Father, an Unschooled Scholar. He was born according to an authentic written record in the family on Monday, August 13, 1920. He was the firstborn, the Jeshth Sputra of his parents. The various conversations among the elders of the family, which included my two most loving great-grandfathers and an adorably talkative great-grand aunt called Puaji by the entire village, often innocently overheard by me as a child of 4 or 5 years, had confirmed this to me. They mentioned that his father Dwarkanand and his grandfather Gyatanand were also the firstborn of their parents, and so am I, his son, now 77 plus years according to the date of birth in the matriculation certificate, and so are our eldest son Aditya and our 6-year-old grandson Antariksh. Pray don't misread this opening statement as any overtone of machismo or a parade of my gender bias. It is but a humble mention of the facts of my family tree. My father was named Hardayal Nand by his Guru grandfather Vedapushan Kaviraj Paramatmanand Ji, death October 19, 1947, the most renowned scholar and Ayurvedic physician of his era. Father's name might have been inspired by the popular perception prevailing in those years of Hardayal, later famous with the prefix Lala, though he was a Mathur, the legendary scholarly genius with a miraculous memory. According to the lore in the family, Baba Paramatmananji also selected my name even before my birth. The story could wait till the time when I write about myself. The piece of narration is dedicated solely to the sublime, sweet, and sober memories of my father, Shri Hardayal Nand alias Hardayal Singh, Ayurveda Ratan, Ayurveda Manishi, gold medalist, proprietor Shri Gajnesh Ayurvedic Aushadhalaya, Ahmedgarh. A uniquely engaging conversationalist with all the old world wonderful charm of a philosopher physician, he was destined to fade away like many extraordinary gifted persons, including his namesake Hardayal, in despair and desperation. On April 1978, at the age of 57 years, 7 months, and 19 days, I had sent him my first and faithfully the last birthday greeting card from Tehran, promising to fulfill all your dreams and expectations of me. I'm reminded of the soulful moment in 1955 in my school when he had pointed out at a simply dressed youthful Deputy Commissioner S.T. Bhamri, IS 1950 of Sangrur, said to me, son, in independent India now, such young persons who are bright in studies and succeed in competitive examinations will be the real rulers of the country. A dream had been planted in my mind and soul. It will be noted that my father, if alive, would have been 94 this month when this tribute was written. I feel uniquely luckier to meet Ambassador V.M.M. Nair, going fine at 95 plus years, and the ICS batch of 1942 during the walk and talk in our residential complex. Ashwini Kumar IP, the film hero type super cop, and for many years Mr. Hockey of India, is exactly of the age of my father. Kumar is known to be fully alert and moves around actively, though confined to a wheelchair. I feel quite convinced that my father had all the ability to qualify for the ICS if the family had the right exposure and guidance to educate him in the British system of education. He was, however, tutored totally at home in all the traditional learning of Sanskrit classics, Ayurveda, Kavya Shastra, Parsodi, Sangeet Shastra, musicology, interpretative religious studies, including the modern ideologies of Gurmat Arya Samaj and new wave ideas of Swami Shivananda and Shri Aurobindo. He was trained to be a good horse rider. I remember once riding behind him on a journey to my mother's village and also a champion chess player. Father was most rigorously trained in the Gurukul style of dawn to dusk routine of various activities for more than 2 decades to be a perfect calligrapher in both Gurmukhi and Devanagari scripts, learn scriptures by heart, and prepare medicines of Ayurveda. Professor Bajinder Singh, Indian Revenue Service, his 12-year junior beloved nephew, who had become the first postgraduate in English in the area in 1950, confirmed to me Chachaji was known to be an extraordinarily bright disciple, but he was equally mischievous too. Babaji, that is Paramatmanandji, used to tie a rope to his one leg so that he did not stay away during the day long lessons. No wonder that no scholar could discern any shade of difference in the pearls-like handwritings of Guru Paramatmanand Ji and disciple Hardayal Nand in various voluminous works penned jointly by them. Well versed in music, he had become the most sought after Pati reciter of Granth Sahib in far and wide area. The circle of his influential Sikh admirers persuaded him to become an Amritdhari baptized Sikh on July 26, 1947. I vaguely remember how he had suddenly stopped sharing hookah with grandfather Gyatanand Ji and also adopted an attire of Sikh tradition. As per the custom and practice of the time, father's marriage had been arranged at an age of about 20 years. There is, however, no written reference in the family of the date and year of marriage. The conversation in the family have revealed that my mother, though not formally educated, was a very talented and hard-working lady. She had a great passion for all type of knitting, including the large-size carpets and dharis, many of which had remained in use for decades since her passing away. Though I have never been clearly told about it, she is understood to have died sometime in early 1946 due to complications after a delivery. It has been further understood that my father was deeply depressed over her demise and had tried to seek solace for some time, wandering in the guise of a sadhu. My grandmother, a deeply pious lady with prayers on her lips all the time, was the most worried soul in the family about the remarriage of her son, who had become a widower at the age of less than 26 years. And strangely, at the same time, she would often narrate to me the stories of Dhruv Bhagat, Puran Bhagat, and other noble children who had been maltreated by their stepmothers. Finally, after many efforts and go-between role by highly respected relation, Babuji Patram Singh Ji, the second marriage of my father was solemnized on March 9, 1953 in the village of Pawala near Rajpura in a large family of ex-servicemen. It must be mentioned that father had been pushed to take many responsibilities at a much younger age in the multi-generational joint family because of several long-drawn litigations over the properties. The death of the saintly elders Paramatmanand Ji on October 19, 1947 and Gyatanand Ji on August 20, 1951 altogether altered the circumstances of the larger clan Khandan. The family had started shifting to Ahmedgarh initially for the education of my uncle. And I also joined the school there in May 1951 in the third grade. After making a break from the family traditions, father set up there Shri Gajnesh Ayurvedic and Unani Aushadhalaya to begin with in partnership with Shri Lalchand Jain, a friend and registered Hakim of Unani system. Soon father started his own independent practice and was able to rent a shop and a residence located in close proximity at a rent of rupees 10 for each of the two. Chaudhry Vivekanand Kaushal, a well-to-do and progressive-minded landlord, was very kind and respectful towards my father for his learning and wisdom. Having not studied in any formal school system, father was extra keen to obtain the recognized qualifications as an practitioner. He therefore appeared privately for the examinations conducted by Ayurveda Vidyapith Allahabad. To his great surprise, he was declared Pratham Sarv Pratham, first class first, in the Ayurveda Bhishak examination held in 1952. He was awarded a gold medal by the government of the PEPSU, then headed by Sardar Gyan Singh Radewala, declaring a Sikh tops the examination of Sanskrit. He had actively involved himself in organizing the Vedamandal movement in the state and worked tirelessly for the registration of experienced but unqualified Vedyas under the new legislation passed by the Government of India. On the basis of his newly obtained qualifications, he was able to get a job in 1955 as a Vedya in government Ayurveda dispensaries and served on a meager salary of those days for more than a decade. Then he resigned to resume his practice in the wake of deterioration in his father's health. He started contributing articles with references from the handwritten books of the family, like the one interestingly named Motam Sahab and the rare works in the Gurmukhi script to the prestigious journals of Ayurveda, including Dhanvantari, Suchitra Ayurveda, Ayurveda Mahasammelan Patrika, etc. He participated regularly in the national conferences on Ayurveda. I accompanied him to one such sammelan at Vittal Pai Patel Bhavan in New Delhi in December 1974. Father, apart from his multifarious scholarship, had remarkable abilities for organizational matters and dealing with the government machinery. He enjoyed genuine friendship with the leaders of all political parties in the area. He was at his best in the company of sons and mahants, saints and abbots of great spiritual learning, who were also quite wealthy and socially influential. It was a rare privilege for me to enjoy listening discreetly to their learned discourses. Father was quite clear and keen that I must excel in modern education. He seemed, of course, intuitively aware that I had my own path to traverse and avail the new opportunities in independent India. There was, to admit honestly, an unavoidable and unbridgeable generational gap between us. The back-breaking burdens of the family accumulated later from his second marriage vitiated and soured the emotional bond between us. His health, with early signs of high blood pressure, had started deteriorating sharply with heart and diabetic conditions. He must have been fully aware of all his ailments and had started looking much older at the age of 50. I think that the occasion of my marriage in August 1973 was the most fulfilling moment for him. The Akhand part to celebrate the birth of his grandson on the Lori of 75 with Tikka Kuldeep Singh Bedi, a direct descendant of Sikh Gurus, reciting the Granth Sahib was his most fulfilling and sadly the last moment of celebration. He and my father-in-law, Shri Nandara Ramdasi, had become very close friends, and the latter's sudden death in a suspicious medical accident reaction to penicillin injection on December 4, 1977, left my father completely a shattered person. His own demise within a period of less than 5 months was a big double shock for us, but it was no surprise to me. While taking leave of him at the railway station of Ahmedgarh on 17th January 78, I had an eerie and foreboding feeling that it was perhaps my last glimpse of him. I could piercingly fathom from his face and foresee in his eyes that light of his life might be fading fast. On the 19th of April, uh, this year, the 36th anniversary of my father, I decided to make again a pilgrimage to the more than 170-year-old shrine of the family patriarch Baba Gajan Shahji in our native village of Falun Kala. After prayers, I spent some time with Manohar, a childhood playmate who had lost his eyesight at the age of 6 years in an attack of smallpox. I requested Manohar to recite once again my favorite Kabit, the fast rhymed poem with profuse alliterations of Sant Gulab Das, and I tried to note it down this time. Then I chanced to see quite an older person coming across there, walked across to him, and introduced myself in the name of my Ved father. He immediately extended his arms and embraced me tightly, saying, I am Shah Nawaz Khan, and I am now more than 80 years old. Your father, Vaid Hardyal ji, had saved my life about 60 years ago when I was almost dying of persistent dysentery. He was the best Vaid of his time. I surprised him by telling that I do remember having seen his father, Rattu Khan, a tall fellow who used to graze the goats of the village, and attending a few steps away and standing a few steps away from the sacred soil of the cremation of 7 generations of forefathers. I could not control the incessant and profuse flow of the tears of pride in my eyes in the most pious memory of my father. Well, this was written in October 2014. Next, I will come to my tribute in Punjabi, which has been included as the last chapter of my autobiography.